All right, we appear to be live. It's Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are talking about Castlevania Nocturne. So I had to buy some new clothes. I basically, right before the pandemic, like literally the week before that PAX East, which was the last thing we did before the shutdowns, I bought a whole bunch of new jeans. Like I replaced all my pants. And then the lockdown happened, and I actually didn't wear several of those pairs of jeans until relatively recently, all things considered. But also, I had a lot of work shirts and dress shirts and things that were kind of on the edge, like kind of worn out, and I needed more, and I didn't really buy any clothes during the entire dark times for obvious reasons. Like, it didn't really matter if something fit well when I'm just in a Zoom all day, and I don't wear those kinds of clothes in my normal life. I only wear them when I'm working. So I finally had to get new clothes. And what I discovered was that the places that I have previously bought clothes that fit me, because I have a very skinny waist but wide shoulders, and there aren't that many brands that'll fit me, and my waist is really tiny compared to the length of my legs, so it's hard to get pants that fit me too. I used to go to Uniqlo, and I went to Uniqlo and I tried on some stuff. I also went to Muji and tried on some stuff. And historically, when I went to those kinds of places, and I have many shirts and many pairs of jeans from those places currently that fit me great, they don't seem to make those sizes anymore, or at least don't have as many of them, and most of the clothing had the same proportionate sizes as all the American brands of stores that I used to stop going to because nothing fits. And then I also realized that most of the clothes I still have from those stores, I actually didn't buy in the US. I bought in Singapore and Manila right before the pandemic when I went on a big work trip. So I guess in some intervening period of the last several years, the sizing at some of these stores went from being the Asian style sizing to more conforming to American standards. So I ended up, of all the places where Emily and I went,
all those stores will tailor clothes you buy there.
Within very extreme limits. Like, they will shorten pants, but obviously you can't lengthen pants. Like, there's nothing you can do there. But they didn't have any pants that were the length I needed and were the waist I needed.
There are also stores that, like, especially for pants, they don't sell pants in different lengths. All their pants are basically extremely long, and you just buy the one that matches your waist, and then they tailor literally every single pair of pants that anyone buys.
And I have a bunch of tailored clothes. I just don't wear all tailored clothes because I got money, but I don't have money. And the fully tailored clothes, even from the cheaper places, that is a lot more expensive than regular old off the rack. So I ended up going to, of all places, the Bonobos, and they have they have shirts that are tailored to my exact triangle shape of my top, and they have pants that are designed for, they call them the athletic fit, but what the guy explained it, what it means is if you are skinny but you have huge quads and or a huge butt, these pants are tailored specifically for that situation. And I tried them on, and they fit as good as my tailored pants, and the shirts I got there fit as good as 90% as good as my tailored shirts.
I basically stopped buying clothes, like, period, because it's like I had a bunch of clothes, like, in certain categories, and I just stopped wearing those clothes almost entirely.
Well, because you don't really go to work.
No, I don't. I don't go anywhere. And so I pretty much need clothes for laying around the house. So now I just have a bunch of, like, sweatpants, tracksuits, that sort of thing.
I also have
just a few clothes for going outside on the occasions I need to go outside, which is for a social thing or go to a hockey game, I guess. And then bicycling clothes, which I already have enough of.
No, I have a huge variety of my external sports type clothes that are highly specific to all the different sports I do.
But I need way less clothes. I'm probably going to get rid of a pile of clothes.
I just did. In fact, if anyone wants old PAX shirts, like PAX 08, PAX 09 t-shirts, I'm getting rid of basically every PAX shirt that is not aesthetic and all of my Enforcer shirts because I just don't need... I have way too many shirts that I never wear.
I still think I can make a mega PAX quilt from all these PAX shirts.
Do you want extra PAX shirts? Because I have a
No,
bunch.
I don't need extra ones. I have way more than enough.
Nah. I am only buying shirts at conventions like PAX's if the aesthetic of the shirt is something I would wear regularly.
That's probably wise.
Yeah. I ripped that Band-Aid off about 9 PAXs ago, and I don't regret it. But also, I am about to donate like so many Enforcer shirts. The pile looks stupid. It's so big. I mean, think about how many times we've enforced. Me and Emily, so that's 2x for most of these. And PAX East gives you 2 per PAX.
Yeah, we definitely don't need those.
Yeah, I used to wear them for rock climbing, but I have so many that I really only need 1 for rock climbing. So yeah, I bought a whole bunch of new clothes, and it was funny because Emily was like, you got all new clothes. She bet me that the first time I wear any of my new clothes to work, people will compliment them. And I didn't think anyone would notice. And actually, weirdly, like, so many people were like, "Oh, hey, nice shirt. Oh, hey." And it was weird. Like, actually weird. Yeah, so that was the most exciting thing that happened to me since the last Geek Nights episode.
All right.
In the news, so PAXs, Penny Arcade Expos, Twitter dying actually did hurt an aspect of PAXs that I had come to rely on in my life, which was if you looked at the PAX hashtag on Twitter while you were at a PAX, there would be this sort of critical mass of like info, commentary, ideas about that PAX. Like you'd see people talking about a panel or talking about a meetup or talking about a Pokemon thing or like that kind of stuff. And that kind of disappeared with the death of Twitter. PAX has now made, and it is public, that's all announced, there is a Discord you can join that is official and specific to PAXs. And based on the experiences I've had in there...
They have their own separate Discord.
Yes, they do. Well, like inside of Enforcing, there's the Enforcer one, and then there's actually a separate one that's just for my department.
Okay.
But anyway, the PAX Discord was, in my personal opinion, having joined it before it went public and seen it and interacted a little bit, and now seeing it as the masses are coming in, seems like it's going to be a pretty good place. And if you go...
I mean, Discord will go away someday, I'm sure. But
yeah, but I mean, Twitter went away. Beluga used to be.
It's here. I think there was a PAX forum, or there, I don't know if the Penny Arcade forum still exists or if they turned it off, but they at least had a PAX section. I don't remember. But I think this will be very good because, there are a lot of the things that go on at PAX are these sort of community things that, aren't official things, right? But they really make PAX what it is, and people don't know about them. And so at least now, the people who are really the PAX people, not just, the common PAX person, but, the person who takes PAX somewhat seriously, who is going to maybe go to more than one of them.
The kinds of people who would, in the old days, the majority of people who went to PAX were like this, because in the old days, PAX, however many days long it was, there was just a badge to come to the entire thing, and most people came too.
But also, in the old days, you wouldn't even know about PAX unless you knew what Penny Arcade was.
Yeah.
Right? So,
we had to be convinced to go to our first PAX.
I didn't have to be convinced. I didn't have enough fucking money.
True.
Time and whatnot. But otherwise, I would have gone to all of them.
I mean, I would have gone to Necrowamacon if I could have.
Exactly. Right. But anyway, so the fact that there's a PAX Discord, now all those organizations, the cosplay meetups, the Pokemon leagues, the drinking tournaments, which I do not condone, all those sorts of things that go on, right, are now going to be able to have a place to, communicate and organize, pre-PAX, during PAX, and there's, the other people who are PAX serious, at least, will find out about those sorts of things. And I think it'll enhance PAX overall.
Well, I think it'll reconnect. The fact is, most PAXs have gotten to a sort of dichotomy where there's a smaller core of people who are there to do PAX. So they're going to panels, they're in tabletop, they're in the console, they're in all these places in PAX. But there is a significant percentage of people who go with a single day badge, primarily, or in some cases solely, to walk through the expo hall, and then they leave.
And then they leave.
So this will...
Discord doesn't matter for them.
Nope. So now all the people who are there for serious are going to be able to find each other more easily and coordinate that fun stuff. So I encourage...
but it's like, are there any other cons of significance that have an official Discord? Like, there are some that have official forums, but like they don't really get used, right? It's like there's people in this, how many, does it say how many people are in it? I guess I can click the member button in the welcome channel.
All I know is it went public and the flood of people joining was pretty big already.
There are 600 plus people, basically about 600 people in there already. It's only going to grow, obviously. So, it's like, there's over 10,000 people at PAX. We don't know exactly how many because they won't tell you. But 600 people is still enough to be like a core of people that, got their shit together. I'm sure a lot of those people are enforcers too. I don't know what percentage it is. So.
Yep. Which is its own community.
Because there is a great need of recruiting enforcers. And it's like, well, anyone who's in that Discord who's not an enforcer already is someone who is so into PAX that they're in that Discord active. That's where you can recruit some enforcers from. And that could be helpful as well. But
it also might help the same, because MagFest kind of has this just because its community is different, and there's a lot of factors there, but I feel like the community of people who go to PAX is going to start to come together again, and PAX becomes more of the physical manifestations of that culture over time, which is how Penny Arcade Expos were in the earliest days. They were the physical manifestation of the culture around this one weird webcomic made by these two guys.
Mm-hmm.
So you got any news?
So there's the guy, the director, the Korean
Bong Joon-ho,
who is famous for Parasite, but also directed other things that were good. But Parasite was kind of a big deal.
I mean, Parasite is an S-tier movie, and it is a roller coaster from beginning to end.
Anyway, so he has been working on various things recently, including supposedly a Parasite like TV show for HBO. I don't know about that. I like Parasite, but I don't like television, so who knows? But anyway, the thing that was just announced is that he is working on an animated film about deep sea creatures, and its budget is going to be like $50 million or something, which is not a lot for when you look at like some other animated films, but it's actually like a lot for a Korean animated film, right?
Yeah.
And the studio he's working with, right? I think he's worked with in the past for some things, but they've done other stuff like maybe like I think some of those live action Harlock or something like that, right? They've done some things that like about.
Yeah, well, they have a note here in the article. Fourth Creative Party is a VFX company, and it worked on some of Bong's previous films like Snowpiercer and Mother.
Right, so it's similar to how, like, Gonzo, the anime studio, which I think is gone now or renamed. I don't know what happened to them, but they started out doing, like, video game cutscenes and then eventually moved on to anime.
Yeah.
This is like, all right, I've got a VFX company that's, right? It's like, let's make a whole movie. You guys can animate things, right? Let's see if you can animate the whole thing. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes, right? It's like, because he's directing it, you can sort of trust the story part, I guess, right? But we'll see how the animation part comes with the sort of mid-tier budget and the VFX studio.
I mean, I'll definitely go see it, and I'm sure we'll do a GeekNights episode on it.
Something to keep your eye on, but
Yeah.
But it's about the relationship between humans and deep water sea creatures. It's like the abyss, but not aliens.
What if it's? It could just be like The Shape of Water. Hot whale.
The sexy one.
Yeah, hot whale.
Yeah. We'll see what it's like.
But anyway, things of the day. So, quite some time ago, on a Russian television show, which did a bunch of like skit comedy, basically, there was a puppet show in the year 2000. And the puppet show was based on, I guess, an old Russian story about, actually, I'm going to read this. This is good. So there is an ugly child, Zachis, and is bewitched by a fairy so that the Philistines will see him as beautiful. All of his shameful and disgusting deeds will be attributed to others, while good traits of others will be ascribed to Zachis. The only people who can see through this enchantment are artists. So artists can see that this guy's a piece of shit, but everyone else will just think he's absolutely amazing no matter what disgusting nonsense he does. It's like an old story in Russia. So this television network put on a performance of Zachis, except all the puppets are figures from Russian modern political history, and Zachis is a young Vladimir Putin. So it's pretty funny. It's well done, and I want to get to a part of it that's shockingly well done.
A lot of people for the part of Zachis.
Oh yeah. This would be a very good play to do in the United States right now.
A lot of places.
So obviously you can go read about all the details, but yeah, that TV network got shut the fuck down and people got disappeared and all sorts of drama in the 24 years that followed. But video of it with subtitles is available on YouTube, and you can watch this. The two things I want to point out to skip all the political commentary on it is that, one, these puppets are fucking phenomenal. The faces look so good. They're like weird in-person caricatures. They're just great. And two, it's actually a pretty funny little play, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only like 10 minutes long. So this is pretty cool, and I urge you to watch it.
Okay. So I bought this device, the Teenage Engineering EP133 sampler sequencer.
Oh, yeah, the device that, to quote you, a device Rim must never have.
Must never have. Would not be allowed to own any noise-making equipment. I mean, it's basically a digital musical instrument, right? You basically assign wave files to buttons, and then you push the buttons to play the wave files, and then you can sequence them to play automatically and modify them, pitch, scales, effects, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, much worse than that. And create, music with it. It has limitations, but it also has advantages compared to other similar instruments. And, I'm not an expert. It's my first, I think it's the first digital instrument I've ever had. I've never even owned, other than a computer, which obviously also contains a synthesizer because it's a computer, right?
Did you not the Korg DS cart we both had? I thought
that is technically software for a Nintendo DS. Right?
Yep, I did learn to use that thing to a moderate degree of aptitude.
Yeah. But anyway, so I've been looking on YouTube to see other people who are actually electronic musicians play this instrument and see how they do. And I discovered someone who is basically, I think, already embodied the perfection of the kind of arts, not just music, but just internet art in general that I would aspire to, right? So this person's name is Clarke Jaxton Motorbike. They're also on Spotify as well as YouTube and I guess your other music streaming places, right? And on their YouTube channel, all their videos are basically, most of their videos, the vast majority, are these little story jams. So what they do is they have one or two tiny musical instruments, and as of late, the instruments that they're using are the one that I have, the 133, and also the Roland S1, which is very appealing, but I'm not going to spend $200 on something. But it makes all kinds of, the exciting synthwave sounds that you want to hear. That's why it's a.
I like those sounds.
But I'm like, no, I cannot spend $200 on a thing when I haven't even gotten my money's worth out of the first thing. Right. But anyway, and in these videos, he plays a song, a very short song on his electronic instruments, just a couple minutes long. And while the song is playing, you are watching him, his hands only, and the devices playing, right? So you can see what he's up to. And also, on the screen, he has applied subtitles, right? Which are telling a story of some kind. And the timing of the subtitles goes with the music. So the music is sort of the theme music for the story as you're reading it, right?
So it's echoes to me via many iterations a modern, highly stylized version of what is effectively Alice's Restaurant.
I'm just saying, I don't know what it has to do with Alice's restaurant.
It's the combination of storytelling and music and medium into one thing like this seems cool.
Not really. I guess I can kind of see what you're saying, but the stories are better than the Alice's restaurant story.
I'm not saying the Alice's restaurant story is good.
Funny, but they're more, at least, But yeah, I want to do something like this, and I'm simultaneously like inspired, like, yes, that's how I want to do, and also upset, like, can I do that without just copying this guy?
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna think I'm copying this dude now. That's what I want to do. You're doing what I want to do.
I mean, we heard about podcasting and just started podcasting. Were we copying all the other people who were podcasting?
No, because we didn't listen to their podcasts, and we weren't podcasting in the style of a specific person or anything.
True. You could do a slightly different style. Just do whatever you could do. What kind of Scott rant?
I don't know what I can do yet. I gotta figure that out.
Nah.
I barely know how to use this thing.
Yeah. In the meta moment, the Geek Nights Book Club book is The Night is Short. Walk on, girl. Have you read any of it since we last talked?
I mean, I still am where I was before. I read the whole first part.
Okay. I'm a little under half. I'm like 40% through.
I'll read the second, but first part really did not take me long at all. I don't know how many parts there are.
Not many. It's not long.
Yeah, but I'll read the second part soon.
All right, then I will continue reading because I paused until you started. Basically, I'll pause until you start reading again, and then I will read, and we'll probably finish it pretty quick, and then we'll do the show sometime before PAX East, which, speaking of, the Penny Arcade Expo East, we will have not one, but for now, 2 panels at PAX East. One of which is 100% brand new, and the other of which is a new version with mostly new content of a format we have done before. So we will be doing every game is the same game, all new content, like super new, and we will be doing the 39 tabletop games you should play.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we've been watching a bunch of stuff, and we'll probably be doing shows on, like, all the animated shows we've been watching lately. Like, I've been watching Dungeon Meshi, which is pretty funny and just seems to follow the manga exactly. Pokemon Concierge, which I assumed was CG until I saw a documentary of how they made it with this actual stop motion. But one thing that we have both watched, at least I've watched all of and Scott's watched enough of, is the second new Castlevania Nocturne. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We'll avoid spoilers, obviously, but season 1 is only 8 episodes. Like, it's not that long, so probably just go watch it. So yeah, if you didn't watch the original Castlevania Netflix, it's basically, they're kind of doing the same thing that the Castlevania video games have done, where every Castlevania video game after the first few ended up being kind of in its own part of the timeline, with its own deal, its own characters, occasionally a callback to an older character, or a character that is very long-lived, like Alucard just shows up in half the games, Wolverine style. But they basically can each have their own different style and be very different games as long as they adhere to these sort of fundamental core elements. And it does seem like...
that's the thing, other storytelling universes, intellectual properties, right, is what they do is they'll make multiverses, right?
Yep.
Especially the comic book ones, to sort of be able to tell, the stories over again or in different ways. And what Castlevania does is like, look, there really is one storyline in a straight line mostly. But we're just going to go through different periods of time, right? Right? And it's like, it's about vampires. So the same vampires, if they don't die, are there.
Yep.
They keep coming back all the time. But whenever they come back, well, obviously it is different if they come back in 1800 or 1700 or 700 or 2000 or whenever, or in a different place on Earth.
Yep.
There's different humans there at the time, right? And so we can just keep telling different Castlevania stories, which are basically different times that, vampires and humans had to fight each other. And because it's in different periods of time, different members in the generations of the same vampire hunting family will be there. And so, in the other one, we had Trevor, right?
Yep. Now we got Richter.
Now we got Richter.
So the cool thing about that too, because I don't know if because you never really watched Star Trek. That's actually how Star Trek operates too. It's one just line in time, and every Star Trek series, which can have a radically different style, is just set in some part of that timeline, and they don't let them overlap too much, so they can all be their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the cool part about this is now we have a pattern. We assumed they would do this because the first Netflix Castlevania was basically just Castlevania 3, but highly adapted. They took the proper nouns, the basic beats of what little story we get out of an NES game from that era, and they expanded upon them and adapted them to kind of fill out the world. And now they're doing the same thing. So it's got a bunch of names of characters from the Richter Castlevanias, but once again, they're mixing the characters up, giving them different backstories. Some characters that in the video games are literally just a side boss are now like a main character. And it's kind of an aside because Emily and I have talked about this a lot over the years. In general, properties that don't have great stories are some of the best properties to adapt into animation or film, in my opinion. Partly because if the source material is either not that great or not that tight, you kind of have freedom to just take the good parts and completely redo the parts that don't fit and make a really loose adaptation that tends to be better. And I think Castlevania is doing that.
Castlevania, and it's like, there are plots and they do flesh them out a bit in the games, but it's like, not really. It's like most of it is like, okay, there was a guy named Simon Belmont.
Yeah.
He had a curse that he went and he fought.
Castlevania 1.
Bad guys.
Castlevania 1, go fucking kill Dracula. Castlevania 2, killing Dracula cursed you, go kill him again. Castlevania 3, the church told you to go kill Dracula, and it turns out three other people, spoilers, are also trying to kill Dracula.
Castlevania 4, kill Dracula yet again.
Yep. Symphony of the Night, Alucard's gonna go kill Dracula.
Right, it's like, and this meet some people in the castle a little bit,
Yep.
and also Death is there, I guess, and there's some things.
That's in most of them.
Right, but it's like, there's a lot of blanks to fill in there.
Yep.
Right? Of like, and so this Castlevania Nocturne series is basically, going with the Richter situation. So they can lead, Richter was in mostly like Rondo of Blood, Dracula X kind of games.
Yep. The ones I have, full disclosure, never played.
Yeah, I mean, I played them a little bit. They're hard. I didn't beat them.
Yeah. I never even beat Castlevania 3. That game's so freaking hard.
Right. And then, I guess, I don't know the full plot, but it's like, Richter is in Symphony of the Night, right? It's like you start as him, right? And then he's like, ah ha ha.
Yeah.
Right. And then you switch over to Alucard. So it could be that that's what, like, I would suspect, right? Knowing that Symphony of the Night is the biggest, most popular one, that what they're going for is like that kind of ending. Like, because spoilers.
I would bet significant money that if there is a next Castlevania series from Netflix, it's going to be just fucking Symphony of the Night. It's going to be called Symphony of the Night.
I've only seen 4 episodes out of 8, so this could already be happening in
what do you think happens at the end of season 1 of this? Because I bet you're right.
I mean, Dracula up here?
Not. Well, Alucard shows up.
Okay, yeah. So
like the very end of the season is basically Alucard's like, what the fuck is going on in here? Also, hi everybody.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, right? So in the start of Symphony of the Night, Richter goes in and Dracula is like, "What is a man?" Right? And then, so it's like you have this Richter story, right, going on that's basically a completely all new story where there's like some other vampires causing trouble during the French Revolution.
Yep.
And whatnot, and night creatures and the church being evil again. Usual Castlevania shit going on, right? And then you could see, it's like, Dracula's not around and Alucard's not around. All the other people who aren't around, we know why they're not around. They're long since dead because they're human, right? But the vampires, they should still be around, but I don't see them, and it wouldn't be Castlevania without them. And so you got to assume, like, the end of this show would have to be, right? Ha ha ha, what is a man?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'd be here for that too.
And so, like, actually, oh yeah, for sure, right? It's like, give me at least some, because when you don't have a lot to go on like that, it's like you actually can't fan service even if you wanted to, right? It's like, what fan service could they do? Right. That's like literally there's only like one moment they can fan service, and that's the one.
Yeah, well, think
So
about the
it's like,
first Netflix Castlevania. What were the fan service moments in that, other than things like when a big fight happens, like a Castlevania song starts playing from the game directly, and monsters that are in the game that has that song are in that fight. And if you played those games, you're like, that's that monster. I recognize that specifically, and they're playing the song, and you go, woo. But here, it's gonna. Hey, what's it gonna be? But Alucard shows up, Dracula, death. All the standbys.
Yep. They've also carried over a lot of the lore that they established in the first TV series, which was 4 seasons, by the way. Like I didn't realize, or was it 5? How many seasons was the first one?
Was it 4? Because it was 4 seasons, but the first season was a few episodes. It was basically a pilot.
Yeah. But it's like that first series that we watched all of, it's like they established a few things that, like, if those things that they established weren't in a Castlevania game, like I had never seen them in a Castlevania game, for things like, yes, all these monsters that aren't vampires, that's because there's a forge master who forges them from dead human bodies and souls from hell.
I'd never heard of a forge master in any Castlevania game I played, though I do kind of just skip through most of the text in Castlevania games. So
yeah, so like if that was in a Castlevania game, I missed it, but it was established in that series regardless. Right?
Yeah.
And, things of that, the church is bad, and, all this sort of,
the Belmont clan is very important and mostly good.
Right. There are these people called, what are they, the Seekers or whatever? They're like wizards.
Yep.
They live around in places and are good, right?
Vampires might be something more. They're not, like, vampire might just be one step along the way of what those things are.
Right. So those things, they've carried all those things over to the new series. There's still Forge Masters, Night Creatures, Seekers, all those things, even though it's a completely different time period. Still in Europe, though.
Yeah. So, I guess to compare it, because if you didn't watch the first Castlevania, there's no point in watching this one. Like, Castlevania is definitely something.
I mean, you don't really need.
You don't need it. You could watch it just fine.
There's like no dependency on the other one, but also like why? It's like the only place you can watch these legally is Netflix. So it's like if you've got one, you've got them all. So why would you start with the second one?
And also, if you like one, I think you'll like two. Like to compare and contrast, the main differences I would point to between 1 and 2 is that 1, the dialogue, which I really like, but I want to point this out, is very much like dialogue from a comic, in that there's some of the best scenes in the first Castlevania are 2 characters just have a very long conversation.
Yeah. The one thing that's bothered me about the old one and the current one is just sort of the dialogue has a slightly extremely slightly like uncanny valley like stiltedness in the
what is a man is a kind of conversation people have over and over again.
Right, from all the characters. It's not like I'm picking on one of the voice actors or anything. It's just like all of them, they talk to each other like something pause that's like a half a second too long, something.
You know what I'd say? You know what it sounds like to me? The voice acting in both of these sounds like a stage play. Where you're talking to the audience while looking at the character you're interacting with. It feels like that. Everyone's giving speeches.
Yep, pretty much.
Which I'm here for. Like, I kind of like that, but it is there. Like, it's not. I'm not saying that is not there. The dialogue is sort of stilted, scripted. It is the opposite of naturalistic dialogue. The second Castlevania has a lot more dynamic conversations where things are happening on screen and people are talking, where the first one has a lot of Godbrand and someone else are having a conversation and nothing happens until the conversation ends. A second difference, in the first one, the night creatures are mostly ugly and horrifying. The night creatures are all kind of cool and very distinct and more like the monsters in later Castlevanias.
And there's fewer of them, and they're more significant, right? Because like in the first one, you had like armies of night creatures that were just sort of like getting mowed down. Here, it's like there's a handful of night creatures. They're not mass manufacturing them yet. And so there's only a few, and with distinct designs, and the ones that don't die in one encounter, they come back in the next encounter. It's like the same night creatures getting reused because there's only so many so far, at least.
Right? Oh, there's one who comes back a few times who is not the one you're thinking of, who's kind of just there. Like, he's basically a guard in the jail, and he's He is clearly like
yep.
thinking about how to deal with the situations as they keep evolving, but he hasn't made a decision yet.
All right, they're definitely trying to make more of a plot around what are the night creatures, how do they work, what's their deal.
But also the designs went from just being gross and bitey and weird to ranging from cool to hot. And I like that.
I think if you're right, I think it's like if you're going to be reusing them so often, right? They put more effort into designing them.
Yep.
To make them cooler, which is important because a lot of the show is fighting night creatures.
Yep. The fight scenes are choreographed a bit differently and are way more over the top than the first Castlevania. And if you think that sounds difficult to achieve because you've seen the first Castlevania, yeah, the animation and the fight scenes in this one is pretty fucking great. But there are very long fight scenes that edge into anime length territory.
Yep. And of course, you know, there's the characters that they have to include, which is pretty much Richter.
Yep.
And that's it. And so all the other
Maria,
characters,
Richter and Maria.
Sure. But all the other characters, they can basically just make up. And so the characters that they chose to make up are all mostly pretty good, right? So you've got, you know, opera singing dude, awesome dude.
Yep.
Right? And really interesting. You know, you got his friend, revolutionary lady, awesome.
She's the best.
Yeah. Church Abbott is just sort of like a stereotypical evil Abbott. It's kind of boring.
Yep, he's boring because he's a little bumbling in his evil too.
Yeah, but his top guard paladin guy is way cool.
Oh yeah, especially because he has the let's say extreme sexual tension with Olrox, who was elevated from like minor optional boss in the Castlevania game to possibly one of the most main characters who may or may not be a villain.
They like picked one of the bosses from Castlevania games, Olrox, right? And they said, aha, let us take Olrox, like we'll pick one of the boss names, right? And we'll make a character with that name who's a vampire.
Yep.
And
now he's an awesome dragon vampire with both good and evil aspects and is definitely not just a villain, and there's stuff going on.
Yep.
The one thing...
that's right, because when you play in Symphony of the Night, there's like Olrox's quarters. It's like areas in the game, right?
But the only thing that annoyed me about this Castlevania, but it did annoy me, was that the main characters, on a couple of occasions, and this is not a thing that happened in the first Castlevania, they skip from a complex, dangerous situation to basically just walking up to where the bad guys are, and then it goes badly because they didn't have any sort of plan. And that happens multiple times. Like, it's a weird plot beat to have such a intrigue style like setup, and then it cuts to they just fucking walk up to the mansion full of vampires. And then, of course, they get caught by security right away, and then one of them dies. Like, that just didn't feel like a well-timed plot beat, and it stood out compared to the rest of the writing of the plot. That's my only main complaint. Otherwise, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, this is written by who wrote the first one? What's his name?
Oh, the first one was Warren Ellis. Yeah.
Yeah, Warren Ellis. So this is not written by Warren Ellis. This is written by different people. So it's like some of the creative team is the same and some is not the same. Because, I mean, I guess it could be that they've changed the animation studio. I don't think they did because it looks the same. But I guess it's possible. I didn't look at the actual credits. But I know that the writers, like the top billing creators have changed because they put their names right at the, in the title screen. So that at least is different. But the tone of the show hasn't really changed, despite different characters, different era. It's like you could have told me that Warren Ellis wrote this and I wouldn't know. So.
Yep, it feels like an apt sequel, and I think it's worth watching. If you like the first one, you like the second one. If you want to see ultra-violent, high-intensity, sexual tension-filled humans and vampires and wizards having big fights and dramatic speeches at each other, these shows are great. Like, they're right up your alley.
I just think it's nice, there's been a lot of shows, I don't watch a lot of television in general, but a lot of the shows I do watch, it's like you look at something like, a Dragon Prince or whatever, it's like, shows have a lot of seasons and they go downhill. Shows get going good and then they get canceled. Shows aren't good to begin with. It's pretty rare that there's a show that they keep going with it, right? There's they haven't canceled it. They're gonna keep going and keep going, and so far have yet to, and it's not like S tier or anything,
No.
but it's like, oh, you're still doing a good job. This is still worth my time to watch this show.
It's a show that's above my line of, if a new episode appears, I will watch it at the first reasonable opportunity, and I would defer other things I could watch to watch it.
Would I pay for Netflix just to watch this show is the question. And here's the thing, is if you've already seen, right, all the like existing seasons, it's like, what was it cost a month of Netflix is $15?
Yep.
Is
Wait for season 2 of this to come out, subscribe to Netflix, and watch 2 seasons of this in one go.
It's like, there has to be enough pay for 1 month of Netflix, and there has to be enough stuff that you'll watch to squeeze all the juice out of that 1 month and then cancel.
Yep.
So it's like, if you haven't seen any of the Castlevania, it's like just that alone is worth 1 month of Netflix. What, $15
month of vampires. If you want to do a month of vampires,
box set for $15. That's a good deal.
There are 32 episodes plus there are 40 episodes of hot vampire drama that you could just watch. 40 episodes is an ambitious month.
But if there's nothing else that you want to watch, okay, maybe, wait a bit for there to be like, make a list of all the things you're going to watch on Netflix if you pay for it. And when you've got a month's worth of things on your list, buy 1 month, watch them all, cancel, right? And then start working on your list again.
Yep.
And that's how you can. But this is a substantial portion of enough, right? It's like almost half.
I think that was a perfectly fine show.
You say that literally every show.
I do.